Hello ladies, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome in. Today we're talking about self-care investments that changed my life forever. I know many of us like to think of as self-care as things we do to feel good in the moment, and definitely that makes sense to me, and I have some of those too, which maybe I'll share with you at the end of this video. But the way that I look at self-care is really self-care, things that will help me not only now but will help me years into the future, kind of like that whole exponential compounding effect. So that's kind of my view on self-care. I think that in our society sometimes we can mistake grooming for self-care, and I think those two things are very different. I forgot my drink over there, so give me 1 second. I'm gonna go get it. Okay, so grooming to me is like going to get your hair done or going and get your nails done or something like that. And to me, that doesn't necessarily fall into the category of self-care. It's more grooming, because you can very much go and get those things just for an outcome and not really be transformed or feel good from that experience. And I've shared many examples of situations in my own life where I thought I was gonna go with a friend to get my mani and pedi, and we got there and there was a lot of complaining and venting, and it was just very toxic kind of a time spent, and I did not feel self-cared for at all. I had to in fact come home and meditate and journal to like release some of that energy. So to me, those two things are not the same. So let me talk about the self-care investments that I have made in my life that have had the greatest impact and are still having a great impact 20-30 years later. So number one, I would say, would be my decision to go to university. That one thing probably had the biggest impact on my life, and to this day is having the biggest impact on my life. So I spent 8 years studying extensively at Northwestern University all of the topics that I love: communications, anthropology, evolution, psychology, social sciences, ethics, morality. I mean, just like a deep dive into all the things that are like just soul level yumminess to me. And I guess one of the things that I'm glad I did at university was I didn't get into the pressure of getting a degree that would be necessarily the highest paying. I went for a degree and studies that really felt good to me in my soul. So my dad had this thing where he wanted me to become an attorney, and he was becoming an attorney in his country when he came over here. So it was like this unfulfilled dream for him. And he kept grooming me for this since I was little, and I had almost convinced myself that yeah, I was gonna be an attorney and that was gonna be fantastic, but I think deep down I knew that that's not what I wanted to do. So when I went to university, I ended up choosing majors and topics that could be converted into, like, it would easily transition into a law degree, but not necessarily. So that was also one of those self-care decisions where I'm so glad that I listened to my heart and not all the voices in my head saying, this is what you should study, this is what's gonna make you the most money, this, become this, do this. So I think it really started with there, and it was a whole world where I learned about different people and environments, things that I hadn't seen in the cultural sheltered life that I lived, where it was just a very, when you're a child of immigrants, at least back then, I'm talking, 40 years ago, I'm almost 41. So I had a very like limited viewpoint of life and like different flavors of people, and going to university was kind of the first place where I got to see diversity at its best in all its yumminess. Number two, self-care investment that I made that still to this day is serving me well is I decided that 9 to 5 was not for me. I had had a couple of corporate jobs by the time I was in my early 20s, and it was enough to know that it was not designed for me. My energy didn't do well, even though if you ever went back to any of those employers or coworkers and asked them, they would say Mina was always smiling, you know, she was always good at what she did. Like, I can do that, like I can go and like put my all into it, but deep down inside, like, it was very soul sucking for me, and I knew that that's not the environment that I wanted to be in. So deciding once and for all that I was more designed for business and being an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, like just being on my own and doing my own thing would serve me the best, was also one of the best self-care decisions, because that's something where I don't have to be in a soul-sucking environment every single day of my life. Number 3 self-care investment that I made that obviously ended up being one of the biggest life-changing decisions for me was to leave my toxic marriage. I've also done a whole video on that, talking about how that just wasn't a marriage that was fulfilling and happy. It was toxic for both of us, and it was a very difficult decision because of the culture that I was born into, and how divorce is viewed, how being a single mom is viewed in that culture. But I'm so glad that I took that stance for myself and made the decision to have a better life. So that was self-care number 3. Self-care number 4, self-care investment, was I took a few years to just do my own thing, just raise my child, build my business. That was my real estate business back in the day, and like just internally process what had happened, my involved in it, the things that I did wrong, and just do some inner work on my own before pressuring myself or moving on into the next phase. In this phase of life, I had a story that I just told people, like, no, I'm not planning on getting married, like keeping people off my back. But what I was really doing was really intense internal self-care, where I was really strongly reflecting, Mina, where did you go wrong? Why did you attract this? What could you do better? Who are you outside of, you know, just being a wife and a mother? So that was self-care number 4. Self-care number 5 was the decision that if I ever get remarried, I would marry someone that was a reciprocal partner to me. If I was going to be the feminine being, then he was going to be very much the masculine provider. And that was really a life-changing moment, because I went back to my Eastern roots and decided that the way that my culture values that masculine shelter, that masculine containment for women, so that they can live their most joyous, easy, carefree, you know, authentic life, was the life that I wanted. Now, there were some limiting beliefs that came up for me as I made this decision, because there's also some toxic things that can creep up when you you don't have that goddess energy and you put yourself in that situation. But I trusted that if that happened, that I would be able to resolve those situations, and some of those things did creep up, and I was able to resolve them. So because I had started my inner work, I knew that I trusted myself enough to be able to get myself out of those sticky situations. Number 6 self-care investment that changed my life, is still impacting me, still giving me that beautiful exponential compounding effect, is my decision to resolve all of my health issues. I had been dealing with health issues since I was a little girl, autoimmune type issues that never got diagnosed. But once I was married to Irfan, it finally like came into the forefront, and I was diagnosed with RA, full-blown autoimmune issues, losing hair like you won't believe, skin issues, fatigue all the time, right? And so I decided that I was going to go back to what I do best, which is study. When I study something, when I lay my eyes on something, like I will go into a deep dive and get a PhD level mastering my craft in that thing. That is just who I am. It is in my human design. Like that is what I am known for. Like since I was 7, like everyone knows that Mina's at home reading books. Like that's just the kind of person that I am. So I went back to that, and I spent 6 years doing a huge deep dive into the world of nutrition. I read every study, every book. I studied veganism. I studied vegetarians. I studied paleo, I studied keto, I studied like anything you can imagine. I studied medical schools and how they don't teach nutrition to doctors. I studied who writes the curriculum for doctors. Like I deep dived into it. And in 6 years, I had pretty much a PhD level in like knowledge on nutrition and fitness and health and micro gut biomes and all that wonderful stuff. And within 5 years of that, my autoimmune issues were all completely gone, been gone for years, and even my doctor was shocked. And I've been able to help my husband implement some of those things in his life, and his doctor interviews him every time he goes in for his physical, because he's like, what are you doing that everything is just reversing itself naturally? So that was big life-changing thing. Funny thing is that as I was studying nutrition, I kept being brought into my studies of evolution. So it's really quite interesting, because people will often say, my followers here will say things like, well, Mina, tell me one book that I can read, or what one class I can take so I can know everything that you know. There is no one book, babe. There's no one class, because everything that you learn opens up a ripple effect and a web of information in other areas. So every new thing you learn activates all the previous knowledge that you had. So I already had this 8 years of studying evolution, psychology, anthropology, communications, like all of this stuff, right? And so I have this foundation and it's in here. And then I study nutrition, and that activates something which reactivates the whole thing. And it's just like this beautiful lit up heart-brain coherence. And so when I combine 8 years of that and then 6 years of that, it was like, whoa, like it's a whole bomb of information exploding within you in activation that you can't get from reading one book. Like it just doesn't work that way. So keep learning and keep growing. Okay. After that, when my health was good, everything's, like I'm finally feeling energetic, looking my best, like working out, eating healthy, all that stuff. After that, the 7th self-care investment activation was my decision to invest in becoming financially literate. So I've always been that person that can attract and manifest money to me, but I could for some reason not keep it. And so when I married Irfan, I learned that he had the ability to keep money and grow money. So I dedicated about 2 years of my life after that. I studied minimalism, I studied Dave Ramsey, I studied the FIRE community, I studied investments and index funds, and all the yummy stuff, some of it from my husband, some from other teachers and authors, and some just from learning and investing money and making the mistakes and learning the stuff. And that was the journey where we both became financially independent. We paid off our mortgage, became financially independent, became financially savvy. And it was really interesting because I had the ability, the feminine part, to call in money, and my husband had the masculine to keep money. And I learned both. I already knew the feminine, so I learned the masculine, and through that he ended up learning the feminine. So we both grew in this huge quantum leap where we can both call in large amounts of money now and keep it and grow it, and the baby gives money, and again that exponential compounding effect. That was a huge part of my self-care, because I no longer worry about money. I no longer have thoughts like, where is it going to come from? What if I lose it? Like, I have become money. So like, I know that no matter what happens, I have the ability to call it in again and grow it again. And like, money says affirmations about me is my new mindset. Like, money wants to come to people that are a great match for flow and freedom and all the yummy things that it wants to do, right? So that was kind of the number 7 self-care investment. Number 8 was where I started doing the deeper dive into deep inner work, shadow work, inner child work, relationship work, energy work, sacred sexuality work, couples inner work together, right? And we spent 5 years. I started on my own first. And I'm gonna tell you the next phase where we're leading now. But the 8th self-care investment was where I spent 5 years studying deep inner work, like deeper, like soul level, really going to the deep trauma, the EDMR, the therapy, the coaches, the intensives, immersions, like doing all of that stuff. And that changed the way that I showed up, my energy. It changed the way I was able to even manifest bigger things. It changed the way my husband started to relate to me. It changed the way that I parented. Oh my God, my parenting got upgraded so much from this. It changed everything. This is really, those last 5 years were really the point where everything changed, because everything that I had been doing internally started manifesting on a really large scale on my life. Every little change that I made internally upgraded my husband. Every little change that I made internally upgraded my children. It was like I was doing the inner work, and through that field, everyone that came in contact with me was being up leveled. There were new standards, there were new boundaries, there were just new levels of being. And so that was the number 8 self-care investment that I made that is just changed my life. Now, that brings me to current, and what we've recently been doing is, I'm just emotional even talking about it. So I recently launched my container course, my Femme Fortune container course. And in this, I did a huge deep dive of over like 40 years of everything I've learned as far as my own journey in working with thousands of students, hundreds of clients, and how we've expanded their container and helped them do their inner work and embody new ways of being. I have thousands of testimonials. You guys see those on my website and on here on YouTube from women from all over the planet. So as I was teaching this container course, and I'm like teaching it, something happened within me, and I sat back down in my journal and I was like, okay, God, like what's my next level? I feel something else birthing through me. I feel a new invention. I feel something dying and something growing, something birthing. And what happened in the next few weeks after that just blows my mind. It was like downloads were coming to me, and my husband was saying those things to me as if it was his idea. I didn't say anything to him. I didn't do anything to him, I promise. I just had the download, and he started moving in directions and doing things, having conversations with me where it was like, is this really happening? Long story short, we're right in the middle of it now, but we are doing really, really deep, so scary, soul shaking couples inner work together. And we have done in the past things together. We've done our 2-body practices, but this is a whole nother level. This level, like every level has scared me as I've gone into it. It's shattered those old beliefs and it's expanded me. But this level just feels, doing the practice with another person every single day and then once a week in a larger container, it's one of the scariest things I've done. Showing my husband aspects of my being and my energy that I don't even know I've ever accessed is one of the scariest things on the planet. It's like falling back into the arms of God and not knowing where you're gonna land, but falling anyway. And so that's kind of where we're at right now, really doing deep inner work. It's creating this huge ripple effect in my health, in my business, on my YouTube channel, in my family, in my home. And the ball's up in the air right now, and we're very much kind of in it right now. So I can't say where this is gonna land, but it just feels so freaking expansive and amazing. So definitely more on that coming, but I really just wanted to put this video out there for you guys where I have done these self-care investments they were definitely fun in the moment, but I knew that these were things that were investments. They were time, energy, money investments that are still paying me back and probably changed 7 generations back and 7 generations forward, as they say, for my collective, for sure. I know that this has created a huge ripple effect in my kids' life as well. So I promised you guys one more thing, that I would share some of my daily self-care rituals. Okay, so on a daily basis, more traditional self-care, what do? So I have certain grooming things that I do, right? So I go get my hair trimmed and professionally colored Right now with the pandemic on and off lockdowns and things, it's not been very consistent. So when I'm at my most consistent, it's about every 6 weeks. When there's another surge in my neighborhood and there's more lockdowns, then I go every 2, 3, 4 months, 6 months. So that's been a little bit iffy. Same thing with massages. I used to go for a weekly massage, then I started going twice a month. Then the pandemic happened, I didn't go for a whole year, and now I'm going back, but I'm very careful because of I have a family, kids, and I don't want to bring anything back. So that's kind of up in the air. My nail salon that I go to is freaking amazing. I literally prayed and manifested it. I go every 2 weeks like that. The girls there, the energy there, they have my drink ready. Like, I don't know, something about that just feels like a soul level manifestation. So I go every 2 weeks to get my nails done. So at home, what do? I work out 4 to 5 times a week. I have a home gym. I tried doing the whole gym thing. I am not one of those person. I am one of the most extreme introverts that I know. If I never have to leave my house again, like, I will be happy. I don't know why I'm like that. I haven't changed in 41 years, so I'm probably not gonna change this anytime soon. I just like being at home. So I have a fantastic state-of-the-art gym at home, and it was worth every single penny. Maybe I should have mentioned that in my self-care investment, because that was definitely one of those big ones. So I work out at home, I lift weights, I do a little bit of cardio these days as we're not, as active. We used to go on, 2 or 3 luxury resort vacations, hiking, things like that, which we're not doing so much anymore. So I'm doing a little bit more cardio than usual. I lift weights, and that happens 4 to 5 days a week, no matter what. I eat a very paleo diet. You're not going to be surprised to learn that my husband and I have both extensively studied evolution and evolutionary psychology. So a lot of what we do, a lot of how we live, a lot of what we teach is grounded in evolutionary psychology and like how our ancestors lived. So we practice what we preach. The way that we eat, the way that we exercise, the way that we live closely, not everything, obviously, we are modern and all of that stuff, but closely resembles as much as possible our ancestry, like our evolution. And so we do eat a very Paleolithic type of diet. That's just, that's another part of my self-care. I meditate every single day. Okay, I can skip it here and there, but on the 4th day, you're gonna know it, and everyone around me will know it, because that is a major foundation of mine. I do grounding exercises every day. I do energy exercises every day. I journal every day. I think my journal is back there somewhere. I journal every day. I don't skip journaling. I think of it this way. I can journal as kind of on the defensive when something's already gone wrong, or I can just journal first thing in the morning and set the stage for the rest of my day. And I like to choose option number 1. Thank you very much. So I do journal every single day. I take 2 social media detoxes and breaks every year. Typically September and October are where I do this, and this is why I've gone to recorded videos right now, because typically what I would do in the past when I needed a social media detox is I would completely just disappear, like fall off the planet, and like people would think I died, like I would just be off, everything turned off. And this time around, what I decided to do is do pre-recorded videos so that content was being regularly released on my channel. People still felt they were connected to me and they were getting updates from me, but I still was able to kind of, pull out and just, have that meta awareness of what's the next level, what is God requiring of me next, because it's very easy to get like very much caught up in social media versus like what's the purpose of it all. So this is why last year when I took my break in last September and October, I came back, I closed down my Facebook groups, I closed down my Instagram, and I channeled my energy and focused it on my YouTube channel, and my energy, my work, my clients, my YouTube channel quantum leaped, I would say 4 or 5 levels ahead. That is what came out of that detox. So this time around, I'm taking another break, and you're seeing these recorded videos because of that. And by the time I come back, I'm gonna be a whole new different person. Last year, another thing that happened after I took my social media detox, when I came back in December, noticed like my content was like next level because I had time to reflect and like, who am I? Where am I? What do I want to teach? What's the thing that I want the entire world to know? You know, as Oprah would say, if you had a megaphone, like what would you want everyone to know? I reset that every time I take that break. So now that I've grown more, instead of just running away to do the social media detox, I've planned ahead. I've recorded videos. I've planned it a little bit better. So currently the way I'm doing my YouTube channel is that there is a new video every Monday and Thursday, and it's already scheduled out for you. And if I ever feel like doing a bonus, like if I want to just say something, then I'll just come on and put that extra video out. But it just feels better to have that consistency. So I hope this was useful for you. If you're new to inner work or new to my inner work, definitely check out the Basic Babe bundle. It's my revolutionary, like if you would only buy one thing for inner work, that would be the best thing because it has a little bit of everything. It's got my foundational inner work process, my 6 steps. It's got the Arouse His Love Masterclass, which has that gut level reaction. It has 17 different meditations, including my life-changing forgiveness meditation. It has a mindset law of attraction masterclass. Like there's so much goodness in that Basic Babe bundle. So that's linked for you in the description box. Also, for those of you guys that were wondering when I'm releasing the Dark Feminine Energy course, that course is happening live on October 23rd. So I'm going to be doing that intensive live with you guys. Now is a great to sign up because there's 4 hours of content already in there for you that you can binge watch on She Power. And then on October 23rd, we're going to be talking about how to use your dark feminine energy with an open heart. Because at the end of the day, look, we are all conscious, aware women that are doing our inner work, and we want to spread more love and positivity on the planet. But the truth is that we do share the planet with people that can be predatory, with narcissists, with people that have ulterior motives, with toxic people. Sometimes we have patterns that are toxic, like people pleasing and nice girl syndrome. So these are all of the things that I will be working with you in that intensive. We're going to talk about how to use our dark feminine energy, boundaries, and our unbothered energy in a way that closes the door with an open heart, right? We're not, my work isn't about manipulating people. My work isn't about shutting people out or alienating people. It's about knowing when those boundaries are necessary and they're an act of love, and how to use your dark feminine energy to be working in your full potential. So that's the Dark Feminine Energy course, and that's also linked in the description box for you guys. I love you so much. I hope that you are enjoying your September and October, and I know that some of you guys are probably wondering why I stopped doing the live streams, but I need these 2 breaks in the year to really go and do my deeper inner work and do my level up and do my upgrade so I can be my best self for you guys. Because at the end of the day, I can't pour out of an empty cup. And so I hope that you understand why I've switched to these recorded videos. And I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.